Good evening. Welcome Darien residents, business representatives, town officials, RTM members, BYO people. My name is Monica McNally. I'm chair of the RTM Public Works. It is 8:08 on Wednesday, March 27th, and I would like to call the RTM public hearing meeting to order. I am joined here tonight by Frank Kemp. He's chair of the RTM Town Government Structure and Administration Committee, also known as TGS&A. And I'm also joined by Laura Mosher. She is the vice chair of the Public Health and Safety Committee. These are the three committees. There are 40 RTM members on these three committees that have been working on this ordinance. Thank you for joining us tonight, for taking the time either in person or if you are watching. We really appreciate your participation in developing your ordinance, and we're looking forward to hearing your input, your thoughts, and your opinions. Hopefully you received a copy of the draft of the ordinance and a summary of important features. This is the yellow sheet that some of you have. If you didn't pick one up and you would like one, please raise your hand and Lindsay will be happy to bring you one. As a refresher, the Board of Selectmen moved the discussion and the possible creation of an ordinance banning plastic bags to the RTM, which moved it to these three committees that I just mentioned. The three committees held a joint meeting after the November RTM elections, which included a BYO presentation. Since then, we have solicited the town people's opinion on the possible ordinance in a variety of ways. We held a town public hearing on February 6th where approximately 120 people attended. 30 people spoke, 25 people were in favor, 4 people were not in favor, 1 person was ambivalent. We collected 66 letters to the RTM email box sent in regarding the ordinance. 43 individuals were in favor, 7 were not in favor, 1 business was in favor, 5 businesses were not in favor, 4 groups were in favor, 1 group was not in favor, and we also received 5 letters expressing various concerns for our local businesses. We visited local businesses, 13 in all, 7 with our first selectman, Jamie Stevenson, where we had in-depth interviews with business owners or employees. We've reached out as committee members to our constituents, our friends, town committees, and town commissions for input. We have been in the paper at least 12 times, including an editorial letter on February 21st. A big thank you to the Darien Times for that. We've had several meetings. We are now having a public hearing concerning the actual draft of the ordinance. All of this has been done with the goal of creating an ordinance that is supported by individuals and by our business community. We have tried to be as flexible as possible while remaining true to the spirit of the ordinance, encouraging people to bring their own bags and to end the use of single-use plastic bags. Our public hearing in February asked for comments and constructive ideas on both the concept of a plastic and paper bag ban ordinance and also outlined key details that would be under consideration for inclusion in the ordinance if it was written. These details included: should there be a mandatory charge on paper bags that is collected and retained by the business establishments? What should the minimum thickness be for a reusable plastic bag that is sold by the business? Should there be stipulated standards on the composition of the paper bag available in this store? What should the effective start date be? The summary that you have in front of you covers these issues as well as other important points. It is a good place to start, but for the most comprehensive understanding, please read the full proposed ordinance. Lindsay? At this point, I would like you, if you have not signed up yet to speak, please see Lindsay. If you have prepared remarks and you would like to leave them, a copy of them, please hand them to Terry Duffy. here in the white shirt, who's also taking the minutes. A big thank you to Terry for that. Thank you also to Jim Cameron for arranging for this meeting to be live streamed on Channel 79. If you are a viewer or if you are sitting here tonight and you would like to email a comment, please send it to daryanrtm@daryanct.gov. We will be accepting these comments on the proposal through April 3rd. Please remember all ordinances are voted on by the full RTM, so please let your representatives from your district, or any RTM member for that matter, know where you stand. Okay, the ground rules tonight for speaking are the same as they were for the last public hearing. Each speaker will be called in the order they signed up. You will have 3 minutes to complete your remarks. The clock over here will blink yellow when you have 30 seconds left. Each speaker will have one opportunity to speak. Because this is a public hearing, the committee members will not be answering questions or offering comment. We're only here to listen. A couple of further comments before starting. If someone before you has expressed your thoughts, please consider acknowledging your support and shortening your own remarks to save time for other speakers. Also, please be cognizant of the 3 minutes of time you have so that you don't run out of time when you're speaking. Okay, I will call the first 3 speakers up. The first speaker will come here and speak, and the second 2 can wait over there so that it goes a little more smoothly, okay?
These are 3 little girls from all Girl Scouts coming together.
Oh, okay. Our first 3 speakers, Megan Palmer, Susan Cater, and Lucia Sikowski.
Do I start whenever?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Palmer Rivera. I'm the Managing Director of Palmer's Market. For the past 98 years, my family and our business has been dedicated to supporting the people who live and work in this community. As a multi-generational business, I'm 5th generation, we understand the importance of preserving what we have, not just for this generation, but for all the generations to come. As part of this devotion to the community and also to the environment, Palmer's is strongly in support of the ban on single-use plastic bags. With that said, we are also strongly in support of the 10-cent charge for plastic bags. Again, this charge is going to the retailers, not to the state. It is not a tax. While there is no doubt that plastic bags have a bigger impact to the environment, paper bags take an impact as well. The goal here should be to encourage consumers to bring their reusable bags. It's not the problem that people don't have them. We've been selling reusable bags at Palmer's since the 1990s. Every store you go to, be it a local supermarket or a chain, sells them by the checkout. I'm sure many of you, like me, have a car filled with them in your trunk, but we just forget to bring them in the store. And we believe that the 10-cent charge would encourage us all to remember. The second reason that we're in support of the 10-cent charge is that Palmer's is in support of small, independently owned businesses. Darien, unlike many other towns, is lucky to have so many, and I think it's what makes Darien so special. These days, thriving in the world of small business is more challenging than ever. We are competing with giants, and we don't have the buying power that they do. Perhaps you're thinking, could the difference between paper and plastic have that big of an impact on a company? Well, let's look at the numbers, and I can't speak for other companies, but this is what it looks like for Palmer's. Each year, Palmer's goes through about 650,000 bags. 83% of those bags are plastic. Our cost for single-use plastic bags is 3 cents. Our cost for paper bags is 14 cents. That's almost 5 times as much. The average net profit for an independently owned grocery store is around 3%. So if you shop at Palmer's, that means for every dollar that you spend with us, we only keep 3 cents at the end of the day. If Palmer's were to switch to using only paper bags, this could potentially reduce our net profit by up to 12%. That's 12% less to reinvest in our business, 12% less to give back to our employees, and 12% less to donate to all of the nonprofits that we support, and we support a lot of people in town. So that 11 cents different might not seem like a big deal to you, but it makes a tremendous difference to us. The Palmer family is very much in support of this ban, but we ask that you also be in support of small business and keep the proposed 10-cent charge on the ordinance. Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to ask everybody to hold your applause until the very end. And also, if you are a resident or you work for a store in Darien, we welcome your comments. If you are not, then I'm sorry. It would be helpful if you emailed your comments in, but this is for residents or local businesses only. Thank you.
I'm Susan Cater, President Executive Director of the Darien Chamber of Commerce at 10 Corbin Drive. First, I'd like to immensely thank the RTM and Jamie Stevenson for your objective approach to addressing this environmental movement for the good of our entire community. You listened to the small business owner concerns and thoughtfully considered how the ordinance could be improved. You're caring, considerate, and thorough, and we appreciate this very, very much. The new ordinance is fair with the extended time period to use up existing bag inventory. All three of the relaxed requirements make a huge difference to the impact of this ordinance for the small businesses that are under 10,000 square feet. We do have some questions. Is the 10-cent charge required by stores over 10,000 square feet taxable income by CT and federal IRS standards? Is there to be a sales tax on the 10-cent charge? Who will pay for the enforcement officer or recruit volunteers? Will Darien taxes go up as a result of this extra expense? And what is the plan for the BYO group to do a continued education of this environmental issue for the next few years to help change consumer behavior? Could the ordinance also consider addressing the recycling of cardboard from online shopping that is recycled at the Darien Recycling Center? Packaging from online shipping is a growing problem as well. Finally, the Chamber likes to remind everyone that doing business locally is good for all. Whether dining, shopping, or business to business, your activity keeps Darien vibrant for all to enjoy. Our merchants will be happier about the ordinance if more people shop locally, whether they bring bags or not. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Lucia Zakowski. I'm one of the co-chairs of BYO Darien. I'm also a resident. I live at 71 Goodwives River Road, and I am also president of the Friends of Gorham's Pond. In my travels in Darien, as I'm sure you've all seen, there are plastic bags all over this beautiful town. I originally got involved in BYO Darien because I read online that plastic bags were not being recycled. Well, now we all know they're not being recycled. They're in fact either being incinerated or put into landfills. The problem with not doing something with paper bags and with the 10-cent charge is that paper, to create the recycled paper bags, is just as bad for the environment as the plastic bags are. All of these issues, phasing out plastic bags and putting a 10-cent fee on the paper bags to encourage shoppers to bring their reusables, is a very common sense, very simple effort that we can all make for the environment that we live in here in Darien. This is a town that is blessed by incredible beauty, both coastal and pastoral, and as I'm sure you've seen, there are plastic bags in the trees. There's plastic bottles and bags everywhere. So if we can make this one small step, that is the simple project we are trying to do here today. We are not talking about other things, whether it's recycling cardboard. We are simply trying to do this one thing, which is phasing out plastic and having a 10-cent charge on paper. And I think we can all come together as a community and realize how beneficial this will be. And that's basically what I had to say tonight. Thank you.
Okay, the next three speakers, Anushka Muknell, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Mary Rooney, and Joe Warren.
My name's Anushka Machal. I'm in 6th grade at Middlesex Middle School. And I'm very proud to be in Darien, where people support this proposal to change our behavior, and get people to reduce not just the amount of plastic they use, but also the amount of paper. This will all help the environment and make Darien's beauty last longer. I heard people are deciding to put a 10-cent charge on paper bags. I say we should, because this will help people remember to bring their own bags to stores and reduce our carbon footprint.
Mary Rooney?
I am reading this on behalf of my neighbor, Mary Rooney. Dear members of the RTM Public Works Committee, due to an earlier commitment, I am not able to attend tonight's meeting. My family and I have been residents of Darien for 23 years. My husband and I raised our 3 sons here, and we're proud to call Darien home. We wholeheartedly support the BYO ordinance. It is a sensible and viable solution that will stem the tidal wave of plastic in our town. The ordinance will also ensure responsible consumption and promote a respect for the common good of our community. One of the primary reasons we moved to Darien from New York City was its beautiful coastline. We didn't move here for the preponderance of plastic that now one finds on the coastline and everywhere else. Plastic bags wash up on our beaches, endangering wildlife and polluting our environment. It will eventually adversely affect our property values. When I was on the board of the Darien Land Trust, one of the responsibilities of the board members was an annual inspection of the 200-plus acres of property under the DLT's stewardship. One year, another member and I were responsible for cleaning up Weeds Landing. We were stunned by how much plastic had collected in the nooks and crannies of this waterfront property. We found many, indeed too many to count, whole and partially decomposed plastic bags. We filled 2 massive bags with plastic debris from just that one little stretch of property on Holly Pond. Our house is on the corner of Rings End Road. When we first moved to town, we would occasionally find a plastic bag by our stone wall. Now the strip of land along the road is often littered with plastic. I often think about the millennials who will be purchasing our homes. They will expect the town where they reside to value its natural resources and to respect the environment. The plastic that burdens our local and broader environment reflects a significant cost of consumption for which the consumer is not paying and that harms the common good. In prohibiting the use of plastic, the ordinance simply mandates that the consumer receives only the product that he or she purchases and not an additional item that will inevitably harm the community. The ordinance would ensure that each person manages his or her consumption responsibly and would set an excellent example for our children and promote a more general respect for the welfare of the community. In last week's edition of the Darien Times, the town council expressed his concern about the 10-cent fee that customers will be charged if they don't bring reusable bags. He further stated that a municipality has no powers of taxation except those specifically granted by the legislature. What is being proposed is not a tax. It is simply a fee that would be collected by the merchants to offset the cost of paper bags. It would encourage the use of reusable bags, the responsible means of consumption. It is not a tax assessed by the town government and should not be construed as such. The time is right for Darien to address our plastic epidemic and to promote responsible consumption and respect for the welfare of our community. A viable solution to this serious issue has been proposed. Let's support it. Mary Rooney.
Good evening. My name is Joe Warren. I rose and spoke at the last meeting. I was not in support of this ordinance then. I'm not in support of this ordinance now. It isn't that I don't understand the concept of what we're trying to accomplish here. What I'm opposed to is writing ordinances just for the sake of writing ordinances. The problem is that we cannot recycle all this plastic. If we take out of the stream the single-use plastic bags, it doesn't even put a dent in the type of plastic that is still being used in all of our stores. I own a retail store. I see what's on the shelf. I cannot buy product that is not in some way packaged in plastic, either in the way it is presented to be sold to my customers or in the packing that comes with it to make it arrive safely in my store. If we're going to address this problem, we have to address the bigger issue of how we can actually recycle the products that are in our town all the time. To say that we're going to take one bag out, but we're going to leave other of the same type of plastic bags in the stream does not make sense to me. I would propose a couple of things. Number one, I recognize that for the most part, the town of Darien is very good about buying recycled products to use within the town. But I would propose an ordinance from the RTM that requires that every department in this town never buy anything that is not made from recycled products, so that we provide a market for the very things that we're trying to recycle. Secondly, it would seem to me that the real answer to this problem lies with the ability to recycle all types of plastics. It seems to me we are a community that is filled with truly brilliant people in our high schools and those who live in town who go away to college. I would suggest that you raise money to set up scholarships to try to find a solution to the recycling problem. We can keep putting it off and putting it off by writing these types of ordinances, but if we don't tackle the true problem of how to recycle all of the plastic that we use, we're never going to arrive at a solution. Thank you.
Okay, before I say the next three people, one housekeeping. If you have a letter that you want to read from somebody, you have one opportunity to come to the podium, so that will be your voice, okay? Does that make sense? Okay, we have three Girl Scouts, Tatina, Campbell, and Grace, and then Deepika Saxena and Matt Zakowski. Are you all going to speak? Oh, you can just all stand there.
Hello, my name is Tatiana Devins, and I'm in Girl Scout Troop 50469. Most plastic bags end up as trash. They don't break down and degrade, so they end up in places we don't want them, like the ocean. Animals might eat these, which can choke them or make them sick. For example, people found a dead whale with 80 pounds of plastic in its stomach, making him feel so full he didn't eat real food. If we get rid of plastic, we can have a clean and beautiful earth. For school, we had to do a no plastic straw for 2 weeks, and it felt good to know that my plastic wouldn't end up in the ocean. I love Long Island Sound. It is one of my favorite parts of Darien because I go sailing in it. We go on my family's boat. We swim in it, and we enjoy it. It is important to me that I swim in clean water. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Campbell Bonanno, and I am in Girl Scout Troop 50469. Even because of all the environmental concerns, some people still don't want to ban plastic bags. But it's a very small step that will go a long way because it is a pretty simple policy. And it will actually can impact the earth for over 1,000 years, which is actually how long it takes for plastic to break down. And since the average plastic bag is only used for 12 minutes, using plastic bags are definitely not worth it, and people should always remember to bring their own. And what can happen in plastic bags' insanely long life is really bad. They not only pollute and make things not nice looking, but they probably will go into the ocean and probably into the Great Atlantic Garbage Patch. Or they could get eaten by a dolphin or sea turtle or any other animal that comes across it. This is a real problem for both the animals that eat the plastic and the humans that might eat the animal afterwards. Plus, a lot of places have banned plastic bags, and they're doing great, like reducing their carbon footprints and stuff. So there really isn't any reason not to ban them. This is why I support this thingamajig in Darien.
Hi, I'm Grace Sandoval. I'm here to represent Troop 50815, and I'm here to advocate for the ordinance on single-use plastic bags. There will be more plastic in our ocean than fish by the year 2050. Plastics being in the ocean is a huge problem. Many people already know its global effects, but not many people know its local effects. More than 100,000 single-use plastic bags end up in the Long Island Sound every year. That's killing local sea life and adding unsightly waste to our beaches. Some solutions to this problem have already been tested in Westport, with them banning single-use plastic bags, but this is not just a local solution. According to the Hartford Courant, numerous cities across the U.S., from San Francisco to Boston, have already banned single-use plastic bags, and cities like Stanford and New York have placed a fee on them. In 50 years, I want to be able to look at our beaches and know that they're clean and healthy. In 50 years, I want to know that our next generation will have no fear for pollution of their environment. And today, I want to know that we'll make a step to help our environment today forward. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deepika Saxena, and I live at 354 Hoyt Street in Darien. In 2010, I was part of the group Choose to Reuse that worked on an initiative to promote reusable bags and to phase out single-use plastic and paper bags. We spent 2 years educating consumers and talking to local merchants about the harm caused by these single-use disposable bags. At that time, over 2,000 Darien residents signed a petition supporting an ordinance to ban single-use shopping bags. Then in 2012, an ordinance to phase out single-use shopping bags was brought to the RTM floor, but lost by 10 votes. Now, 6 years and 30 million disposed shopping bags later, the group BYO Darien has proposed a similar ordinance. This time, we have a new demographic of Darien residents and RTM. This demographic is even more concerned and supportive of an ordinance. BYO Darien, who is representative of this new demographic, supports a 10-cent charge, an environmental charge, on recycled paper bags. This 10-cent charge is intended to deter people from taking recycled paper bags instead of bringing their own reusable bags. Recycled paper bags given away for free may be a solution to the plastic problem. However, from a carbon footprint point of view, those paper bags can be as harmful as plastic. Moreover, excess paper will end up costing the Darien taxpayer, whether that paper ends up in the trash or in the recycling stream. Darien pays $94 a ton to have its waste removed. Additional heavy paper in the waste stream will only increase that costly tonnage. And recycling that paper is not a solution. For the moment, city carting pays Darien for its recyclables, but the market for recyclables has tanked. And in the near future, Darien will instead have to pay city carting to haul away our recyclables. Additional paper in the recycling stream will make its removal more expensive for Darien, and thus for its taxpayers. So let's do the right thing. Let's bring in an ordinance that includes the 10-cent charge for recycled paper bags. This will be a win-win-win for the environment, for Darien merchants, and for the Darien taxpayers. Thank you.
No, sorry. So that was Matt? Okay. Natalie Tallis, Ian Cadu, and Isabel Hare. Other people could read the letter.
Good evening. My name is Natalie Tallis. I've lived in Darien for 15 years. I am in favor of the proposed ordinance for the management of plastic and paper checkout bags in Darien. I support the ordinance as it is written, including the 10-cent charge on recycled paper bags, which will be retained by retailers. As other government entities have found, bag fees are incredibly effective to induce a change in consumer behavior away from single-use plastic and recycled paper bags. Research actually shows that any fee works better than even offering a bonus for bringing a cloth bag. As consumers, we will alter our behavior if we have to pay. Economists call this loss aversion. We all tend to care more when we stand to lose something, even compared to a gain of equal value. This is why cities, states, and national governments around the world are trying to limit plastic bag litter and waste with bans and fees. Many of our neighboring towns have already taken action against our plastic bag addiction, and consumer dollars will follow and go to those towns who are supporting a bag ban that'll help clean up our environment. Now it is our turn. I ask our government officials to vote in favor of the ordinance to manage plastic and paper checkout bags in Darien.
You can't speak for someone else. One voice, one time.
Oh,
Somebody that hasn't spoken.
I thought it was yours and then one other person. Does anybody else not reading anything want to read somebody's bag? Speak now.
Ian?
Hi, I'm Ian Cadu. I've lived in Darien for about 4 years and wanted to speak in support of this ban as well as the charge, and I wanted to bring up a few topics. So I live right downtown, right on Leroy Avenue, spend a lot of time walking around with my daughter. She's 3 years old, and since we participated last year in the Clean Up Darien movement and sort of went down to Tilly Pond and picked up trash around the pond there, she's gotten into this thing of picking up trash when we go walk our dog. And so as we walk around, I get a lot of, uh-oh, Daddy, there's trash on the ground. And she always wants me to pick it up and put it in the bag. And I just want to say this is a real problem. Like, we walk through Tilly Pond, there's constantly bags blowing in the wind, there's bags out there. We walked down Goodwives River Road down to the Darien Ice House to go ice skating, and in that drainage area in between the shopping center, there's trash, there's bags. This is a problem here in Darien, in our town. So I think it's important that we start doing things. It's a problem that we can solve locally, and that will also affect us locally with all the trash and pollution that is around town. The second thing is, I think this is good economics for the business users, good economics for people. I think it's for small businesses, money that goes right back into their pocket by having less overhead, and that then money recycles back into Darien with a lot of local businesses owned and lived within Darien. And so I think that's another positive thing for this. And then the final aspect is, I think, the tax aspect and the need for changing psychology of people. This was mentioned just a moment ago of you have to put those incentives out there to get people thinking about it, get people starting about it. And without that fee, it's not going to actually affect the behavior that is the intent of the ordinance. And so I think that needs to be part of it, and I would not consider that a tax. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Isabel Hull. I'm a senior at Darien High School, and I spoke at the last hearing as well. The first thing I would like to say is that I support the ordinance, but not as written. I think we need to add more to it, and I would encourage the committee to add more single-use plastics and make it even more restrictive so that less waste is going into the environment. At the basis of this ordinance is really about how it's going to affect the environment. We want to be conscious about how it's going to affect the taxpayer, and some really good points were made about small businesses as well. But at the heart of this is about how it's going to affect the environment. So I want to make three real big points. First thing is just that this is common sense. This is about changing behavior. Any argument about how this is not worth it because it's not enough or it needs to be changed, something needs to be passed so that we can change the behavior of people, encourage them to bring their own bags. It's not a tax because the money is going back into the hands of the business owners, so it actually will help them. My second point is that the wildlife in this town is thriving. We live on the coast and we have a lot of natural resources here, and nobody is speaking up for the wildlife, so if we don't, then no one will. The effects, environmental effects from single-use plastics are affecting the wildlife and animals firsthand, going directly into the water and the ecosystems. Human life cannot thrive without thriving ecosystems, so if we don't protect them, no one will, and for future generations, it's going to be affecting them, affecting their health, and ultimately affecting human health. I wanted to bring up the story about that whale that was found with over 80 pounds of plastic in its stomach. There is no argument except for that that's from human behavior. That is from human plastics. And sure, there are plenty of ways that we could improve the carbon footprint of humans, but ultimately we need to get single-use plastics out of the stream. This is where we start. This is why this needs to happen. Also, health effects on humans. Microplastics in humans and in human blood have become a huge issue. That is directly from single-use plastics like plastic bags and straws that are being used, that are being put into the environment. Just like they're being found in animals, those are also going directly into you, whether it's from consuming the animals or from water. A lot of the harmful chemicals and substances that come along with microplastics include things that are carcinogenic and could cause other really fatal diseases. So just like a lot of other things that threaten the environment, like fertilizers and pesticides, single-use plastics are causing a harmful effect to human health, and that is a really important part of why we need to take them out of the stream. So overall, I know there are a lot of things that we can debate about how the ordinance should be changed and whether or not it should be put into effect, but at the basis, some action needs to be taken, and we need to support this ordinance so that something is done. If we don't start somewhere and move from there, then no change is going to happen, and for future generations, for my generation, for my children's generation, we need to protect the environment so that we have a beautiful environment to live in. Thank you.
Next, we have Catherine Lester, Kate Dempsey, Kathy Finnegan.
Hello, I'm Catherine Lester, and I'm a senior at Darien High School, and I am in support of this ordinance. So many people are wondering why the town of Darien should care about plastic waste. Darien doesn't contribute the most plastic waste in the state, and the main problems aren't even in this country, it's with developing economies. So why should we do anything? It's easy to pretend that this isn't a problem. It's easy to not think about how many times we waste plastic and how many times we think that we're recycling and it's not going anywhere and it's not doing anything. It's easy to try to use Chapter 98, Section 7-148 to justify not enacting this because of the perception that ordinance is a tax. However, a tax is a compulsory contribution to state revenue. The profits collected from this ordinance are not collected by the government, but instead returned to business owners, which actually will help small businesses. Towns like Greenwich and New Canaan, Norwalk, Stamford, and Westport have an ordinance similar to this or this exact ordinance enacted. Why do our neighboring towns enact this despite of the issues raised because they recognize that this is not a tax and understand the importance of this practice. It is about changing behavior. It is about reducing our carbon footprint. Darien prides itself on being a community where we look out for our neighbors and teach our children accountability, responsibility, and togetherness. Why can't we come together and take accountability for our carbon footprint? Why are we not only responsible for our actions? We are not only responsible for our actions, we are responsible for future generations because they will have to live with the consequences of our choices. Even if this is a small step towards reducing our carbon footprint, why not take it? We must look forward to the future and enact this ordinance, not only for ourselves, but for wildlife and future generations. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kate Dempsey. I am a senior at Darien High School, and I spoke at the last public hearing. I would actually like to relate a story to you all that happened to me only a few days after I went to the last public hearing. I decided to check out a new trail that had been recently made near Spring Grove Cemetery, the Darien Library, and it starts off of Hecker Avenue. This trail had only been made, I'd say, only a few months prior. And already when I was walking my dog, I counted 7 plastic bags alongside the trail. And that didn't even count for the amount I found alongside the stream that runs alongside the trail. So disgusted by this amount, this mass of cluster of plastic bags, because it really only was plastic bags caught alongside everything, I decided to go back, get a bag, and clean it all up. But how many more times do I have to repeat this process? A month, a few weeks, until it's back to where it was? I think we need to take this ordinance as really essential if we want our environment to continue thriving. I mean, in that time span, how much damage was already done due, as mentioned before, with microplastics and everything like that? We are here at this public hearing again to mainly discuss the legality of such an ordinance, but in the process, we're not keeping in mind the environmental factors that are also present here. The 10-cent charge is quite necessary. We need it, as many have discussed before. This is really good for small businesses, and it is a good incentive because people will continue, I myself am guilty of this, of bringing their recyclable bags unless they have some incentive that they're going to be charged for it. Finally, I would like to discuss the fact that this is not the only issue. As someone else has previously mentioned, we need to think about the larger picture of this. We need to find ways to just completely figure out how to decompose plastic. But this is still a step in the right direction. We're still doing something about it so that we don't have that waiting time of constantly having to pick up all these plastic bags. So, as previously seen in the last hearing, a majority of people are in support of this. So we must not let down our citizens and the youth who are going to have to deal with this issue in the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathy Finnegan. I'm going to leave these on. My name is Kathy Finnegan. I live at 22 Patricia Lane. And first I want to thank the members of the RTM and the committees because clearly you've spent a lot of time thinking about this and talking about how it impacts the community. And I, as a person who lives there, I really appreciate that. And I'm here to support the proposed BYO single-use plastic ordinance as it's written with the charges. And before I make my remarks about why I believe that, I just wanted everybody to stop for a second because it was blown away by the comment by our person from Palmer's who said, I think it was 650,000 bags in 1 year by one shop. And of that, 83%, or well over 500,000 plastic bags in one place in 1 year. And I think it was Kate who said she saw them on a trail. I recently was looking at the waterfall there by the dump on Ledge Road, and I pulled in, and the water was running, and all I could see was plastic bags. And I, too, was out. I didn't want to climb. I didn't go after all the bags, but I picked up what I could, and it's very frustrating. They're everywhere. And basically, the single-use plastics do harm our environment, our health, as everybody's been saying. I think what I wanted to say is we're at a moment in time when concern is rising over the health issues with them, and our waste system and recycling systems are just overwhelmed and cannot deal with them. So it seems like this is a time, I look at this as an opportunity to take a positive step, to reduce a major source of plastic pollution, and to do what someone had asked, I think it was the Chamber of Commerce, to educate consumers on the alternatives to relying on single-use plastic or paper bags. I believe that would be a mission of the BYO community. I know that being involved with sustainable practices in this town, the community, these are things that we're working very hard to help educate and would continue to do so after this ordinance. I just want to change a phrase. We've often said reduce, reuse, recycle, but I think there's another way to state this, which is to choose to refuse. We can refuse a bag altogether, but often we don't. If we have just a single item, how many times do you take a bag of gum in a bag and then go, oh, why did I do that? When we need a bag to carry many items, we can refuse the store bag, and we could bring our own. And as it said, sometimes we forget that. Human nature says that we're going to walk into the store with the bags at home or in the car. And I'm passionate about this issue, and I forget more than I think. But I keep trying, and I refuse to stop trying. I'm thinking the incentive of having to pay for those bags when I forget my own or leave them in the car might incent me to walk back out and bring them in and use them as I fully intend to do. So I'm refusing to forget to bring my own bags, and it's not easy. And finally, consumers don't refuse to shop at Costco or IKEA. That model already exists, where we do not expect those merchants to provide us with containers to take our products out in. In other countries, this is common. I recently was in New Zealand, and it's the same thing. They don't give you a bag, and everybody walks out with their own. So just ask us all, in the end, we will reduce plastics, use less paper, protect the environment, and keep bags out of the waste stream.
Our last speaker is Juliet Kane.
Good evening. I'm Juliet Kane, 81 Locust Hill Road. I'm also a co-chair of BYO Darien. I just wanted to remind everybody about the title of our ordinance. It's the Ordinance for the Management of Plastic and Paper Checkout Bags in Darien. That management was intended to be an elimination of non-recycled paper bags and a 10-cent charge for recycled paper bags. We've heard from others how effective the charge is. We've heard from Palmer's how business-friendly it is and how much they support it. We know that education isn't enough. It's 6 years later, 30 million bags later, and we're still talking. We've given the RTM studies, we've given them sites to studies that show how effective a charge is. Last week, a report came out from Suffolk County. Suffolk County had imposed a charge of 5 cents on all single-use bags, plastic and paper. Their report showed that even with a charge half of what we're proposing, there was an 80% drop in bag usage after 1 year. Others have talked about the effect of having no charge. There will be a default to paper. We see it every day. You can spend 15 minutes in Trader Joe's or in Whole Foods, and you'll see paper bag after paper bag just given out. There's no incentive not to take it. There's also a cost to the taxpayer, as Deepika said. But now there's something additional to these problems. We have a cloud hanging over the issue of the charge. The lawyer for the town has issued a letter dated 14th of February, and the letter concludes, it's basically a set of assumptions, that the charge is a tax. There's no analysis, there's no support, there's no reasoning. It's not what I would think of as a normal legal opinion. He mentions that he's done a quick review of the statute, but otherwise it's a sort of very, I think it's a disservice to the town, frankly. that we would have this. The lawyer has also spoken to the Darien Times, and we've seen that interview. It's affecting the way people are thinking about this. The mere fact that we're having this conversation and people using words like legal and valid for the charge is, to my mind, demonstrative of the issue that this is causing. I know that members of the RTM have asked to meet with the lawyer to get further detail, to get his support and analysis, because it's not visible in the face of this letter. This letter was only released to the RTM last week, I understand, and they haven't had a chance to look at this. But still, we're discussing it tonight as a topic. My understanding, too, is that now there'll be more committee meetings with the RTM, and there won't be any further chance for the RTM members to understand what the reasoning is, if any, behind these conclusions. So it saddens me to think that this is out there and casting a pall over this issue. I think we should just get on, as Norwalk, Stamford, New Canaan, Weston, other towns have done. They don't seem to be the least concerned about this issue. I don't believe it's an issue myself. We've handed out as a flyer the definition of tax from Black's Law Dictionary. Black's Law Dictionary is a resource that even the Supreme Court uses. And as others have said tonight, this cannot be a tax because this money stays with the retailer. It does not go to the government. So I think it's time for no more excuses. We just need to get this done. Thank you.
Has anyone who wishes to speak not had a chance? Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Megan Dempsey. I spoke last time, and I am in support of the ban. First of all, this ordinance is not just for the sake of writing ordinances. There's been a lot of time, effort, and consideration to address such a huge problem that not only just affects Darien, but the world. And, not trying to at least address it is just trying to ignore the problem, and it's huge and it's growing. Banning plastic bags is just the start. You have to start somewhere. It's been mentioned earlier that the focus should really be on all the small little plastics bags used in each store and everything. But a lot of that, especially if it's a food store and all the food packaging, has to deal with major corporations. And we just have to try and manage what we can control and start with the changes that we as Darien can do. We have to focus on making Darien a better and cleaner place, and it's important that this ordinance goes into place because it'll teach consumers not just here in Darien to use plastic bags that are what we recycled material, but everywhere to use them. So it can not only help pollution here, but everywhere. And honestly, I don't want to see my future filled with garbage and pollution. We're already drowning in it, and it's imperative that we do something about it to protect our environment and our health too. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paola Sardoni. I'm one of the founders of the BYO Darien. I don't think we need any further explanation on the environmental issues that we're facing and the reasons for that we have to address environmentally with this ordinance. And right now I'm just going to talk about the retailers part of it. Because the ordinance, the way it is drafted right now, is very much to cater for the businesses. It's for the businesses and it's for the environment. The business keeping this fee, they will be able to subsidize the bags. As the state has passed a bill through the committee level, so it's going to the floor for a vote, hopefully. We never know if that will happen because it depends on priority. But they have passed a bill on committee level, and that bill does not give the charge, well, it doesn't even have a charge, and the fee will not go back to the retailers. However, it bans the plastic bag. Who will have to pay for the paper bag? The businesses. So it's the only chance now for you retailers to embrace what the proposal that Darien have and move this forward to protect your own business and your own budget on your business. Because otherwise, if the state passed this before we do, you're going to have to subsidize the paper bag, and that will cost you more for you. The customers, they do not know that the paper bags cost more than plastic, but they will know that your goods cost more than the online businesses. And then where the customers will go, where the shoppers will go, they will go online because it's cheaper. So I really urge you retailers to embrace with the proposal we have right now, because you just have to gain with this. Also, I think the law is to provide a common good. And the reason that we have to have an ordinance is because I can do everything right in my house. However, if like another 50 people in Darien are not, we're still accumulating a lot of trash. So with this ordinance in place, everybody in Darien will be doing the right thing. And in that way, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? No? Okay. Again, emails to Darien, rtm.darienct.gov. I'm sorry, darienrtm@darienct.gov are greatly appreciated through April 3rd. This will ensure that they're part of the discussion for the ordinance as it's being prepared. I'd like to conclude tonight by thanking everyone that's watched and listened, and especially a big thank you to everyone who shared their voices. This meeting is adjourned.